I thought I'd finally escaped him, but monsters from your past never truly let you go. Comment where you're watching from, and what's your name? 3 years ago, I made the biggest mistake of my life. I fell in love with a monster. His name was Marcus Delacroix, and when I met him at 24 years old, I thought he was my savior. I was Jessica Turner back then, broke, struggling, working 3 jobs just to keep a roof over my head in Las Vegas. My mother had died from an overdose when I was 16, and I'd spent my teenage years bouncing through foster care. By the time I aged out of the system, I had nothing. No family, no money, no safety net. Marcus was 32, wealthy, charming, and he noticed me. Really noticed me. I was waitressing at an upscale restaurant on the Strip when he came in with business associates. He left me a $500 tip on a $200 bill and his business card with a handwritten note. Dinner? You deserve better than serving it. I should have seen the red flags. The too grand gestures. The too quick intensity. The way he seemed to appear everywhere I went after that first meeting. But when you've been invisible your whole life, being seen, really seen, by someone like Marcus feels like winning the lottery. Our relationship moved fast. Within 2 weeks, he'd convinced me to quit my jobs. Let me take care of you, he said. Within a month, I'd moved into his penthouse apartment overlooking the Strip. Within 3 months, he proposed with a ring that cost more than I'd earned in 2 years of working. I thought I'd finally found my fairy tale. A man who loved me, wanted to marry me, who could give me the stable, secure life I'd always dreamed of. But fairy tales don't exist. Not for girls like me. The first time Marcus hit me was 4 months into our relationship. I'd made plans to have coffee with a former coworker without telling him first. He slapped me across the face so hard I saw stars, then immediately broke down crying, apologizing, swearing it would never happen again. He bought me a diamond bracelet the next day. It happened again 2 weeks later. And again. And again. But the physical abuse wasn't even the worst part. Marcus was controlling in ways that slowly suffocated me. He monitored my phone, tracked my location, controlled every dollar I spent. He isolated me from anyone who might have helped me leave. He convinced me that without him, I'd end up back on the streets, back in the gutter where he'd found me. No one else would ever want you, he'd whisper after hitting me. You're damaged goods, Jessica. I'm the only one who sees past that. I believed him. For almost a year, I believed him. The breaking point came on a Tuesday night in September. Marcus came home late, around 2 a.m., with blood on his shirt. Not his blood. He walked into our bedroom like nothing was wrong, started undressing, and I saw his hands were bruised and bloodied. Marcus, what happened? I asked, my voice shaking. Business, he said coldly. Don't ask questions you don't want answers to. But I'd already seen too much. Over the next week, I started paying attention to things I'd been ignoring. The late-night phone calls he took in another room. The mysterious business meetings that happened at 3 a.m. The duffel bags full of cash he'd bring home and immediately lock in his safe. The dangerous-looking men who'd visit our apartment. Marcus wasn't just wealthy, he was a criminal. I didn't know exactly what he was involved in, but I knew it was bad. Drugs, money laundering, maybe worse. And I was living with him, wearing the jewelry he bought me with dirty money, complicit whether I wanted to be or not. I started planning my escape. It took me 3 months to gather everything I needed. I secretly applied for a new driver's license under a slightly different name, close enough to my real name that I could answer to it, different enough that it would be harder to trace. I opened a bank account he didn't know about. I squirreled away small amounts of cash whenever I could. I researched cities far from Las Vegas where I could disappear. The night I left, Marcus was out of town on business. I had a 4-hour window. I packed 1 suitcase with clothes and essentials, took $8,000 in cash I'd found hidden in his office desk, and walked out of that penthouse at 2 a.m. without looking back. I took a bus to Phoenix, then another to Albuquerque, then another to Denver. I paid cash for everything, left no digital trail. In Denver, I became Sarah Mitchell. I got new identification, a new social security number, bought from someone who knew how to make fake documents look real, and started building a new life. But I wasn't stupid. I knew Marcus would look for me. He was possessive, obsessed, and he had resources. Men like him don't let their property just walk away. So I stayed vigilant. I changed my appearance, dyed my dark brown hair blonde, started wearing different style clothes, even changed my makeup routine. I stayed off social media completely. I never used my real name. I looked over my shoulder constantly. For the first year, I lived in constant fear. Every man who looked at me twice made my heart race. Every unexpected knock on my door made me freeze. I had nightmares about Marcus finding me, dragging me back, making me pay for leaving. But as time passed and nothing happened, I started to relax. Started to believe I'd actually gotten away. That's when I moved to New York and met Michael Bradford. Meeting Michael wasn't part of some grand plan. Not initially. I was working as an event coordinator, trying to build a legitimate career with my new identity. He was at a charity gala I'd helped organize. We started talking, and for the first time in years, I felt something other than fear. Michael was everything Marcus wasn't. Gentle, respectful, patient. He didn't try to control me or isolate me. He introduced me to his family instead of hiding me away. He made me feel safe. But more than that, Michael represented something Marcus never could: legitimacy. The Bradford family was established, connected, respectable. Marrying into that family would give me a real identity, a real life, real protection. I wouldn't just be Sarah Mitchell, woman with questionable paperwork and a fake past. I'd be Sarah Bradford, wife of Michael Bradford, daughter-in-law to one of New York's prominent families. I convinced myself I was doing the right thing by not telling Michael about Marcus. Why burden him with my past? Why risk losing him by admitting I was living under a false identity? Marcus was 3 years and 2,000 miles in my rearview mirror. He'd never find me. I was safe. I spent 2 years building this new life. Playing the perfect girlfriend, then fiancé. Winning over Michael's family. Creating a future where Jessica Turner and Marcus Delacroix were just bad memories that couldn't touch me anymore. But I should have known better. Monsters don't forget. They don't forgive. And they never, ever let go. Yesterday morning, Margaret confronted me about my past. She discovered that I was Jessica Turner, that I'd changed my identity, that I had arrests and debts and a history I'd hidden. I'd managed to turn that around by blackmailing her with her family's secrets, forcing her to let the wedding proceed. I thought that was my biggest problem. I thought Margaret knowing the truth was the worst thing that could happen the day before my wedding. I was wrong. This morning, at 6:47 a.m., exactly 24 hours before I'm supposed to walk down the aisle, my phone buzzed with a text from Michael. 5 words that made my blood run cold and my carefully constructed world crumble. Your ex showed up at our door. Marcus had found me. And he was at the Bradford family home right now. I stared at Michael's text, my hands shaking so violently, I nearly dropped the phone. Your ex showed up at our door?
No.
No, no, no. This couldn't be happening.
Not now.
Not when I was so close.
My phone rang.
Michael. I let it ring once, twice, 3 times while I tried to control my breathing, tried to force my voice to sound normal instead of terrified. Hello. I managed. Sarah, where are you? Michael's voice was tense, confused. There's a man here claiming to be your ex-fiancé. He says his name is Marcus and that you two were engaged before you moved to New York. He's asking to see you.
My mouth went dry.
What? What did you tell him? I told him there must be some mistake. You said you'd never been engaged before. But Sarah, he knows things. He knows your birthday. He described a scar on your left shoulder blade. He even showed me a photo of you two together. Michael paused. Sarah, who is this man? I closed my eyes. The scar. I'd gotten it when Marcus shoved me into a glass table during one of his rages. I'd told Michael it was from a childhood accident. Where are you right now? I asked, dodging his question. At my parents' house. He showed up about 20 minutes ago. Mom and Dad are here too, and Sarah, Mom's face. She knows something. She looked at this guy and then looked at me like he stopped. Sarah, what's going on? Why does my mother look like she knows exactly who this man is? Of course Margaret knew. She'd seen my past, seen my real name, probably seen records of my relationship with Marcus in that folder of evidence she'd compiled. And now Marcus was standing in her house, confirming everything she discovered. This was worse than I'd imagined. Margaret could use this. She could let Marcus expose me, let him tell Michael everything, and she'd keep her hands clean. She'd get exactly what she wanted, me out of Michael's life, without having to deploy her own blackmail material. "I'm coming over," I said. "Sarah, who is he?" "I'll explain everything when I get there. Just don't let him leave. I'll be there in 20 minutes. I hung up before Michael could ask more questions. My mind raced as I grabbed my keys and headed for the car. Marcus was at the Bradford house.
Right now.
Talking to Michael and his parents. Margaret knew who he was and what he represented, proof that everything I'd told her family was a lie. But why was Marcus here? What did he want? The question answered itself immediately. He wanted me. He'd spent 3 years looking for Jessica Turner, and somehow he'd found Sarah Mitchell. And he wasn't going to let me go without a fight. As I drove toward the Bradford estate, I tried to think through my options. I could run. Again. Take what I could carry and disappear, start over in another city with another name. But I was so tired of running. And this time, I'd lose Michael, lose the life I'd built, lose the legitimacy and safety the Bradford name provided. Or I could face Marcus. But facing Marcus meant he'd tell them everything, the abuse, the criminal activity, the way I'd stolen money from him and fled. Even if I tried to paint myself as a victim, which I was, it wouldn't matter. I'd still lied about everything. I'd still deceived Michael and his family for 2 years. There was a third option, though. A dangerous one. I could beat Marcus at his own game. When I pulled up to the Bradford house, I sat in my car for a moment, gathering my courage. Through the large front windows, I could see figures moving in the living room. Michael, his parents, and a man I hadn't seen in 3 years, but who still haunted my nightmares. Marcus looked exactly the same. Tall, dark-haired, handsome in a way that hid the cruelty underneath. He was wearing an expensive suit, playing the part of a concerned ex-fiancé. From outside, you'd never know he was a monster. I got out of the car and walked to the front door. My hands were still shaking, but I forced them steady. I needed to be in control. This was my territory now, not his. Margaret opened the door before I could knock. Her expression was unreadable, but I saw the calculation in her eyes. She was enjoying this. Her problem was solving itself. "Sarah," she said coolly, "your guest has been waiting." "He's not my guest," I said quietly, meeting her eyes. "And you know exactly what he is." Something flickered across her face, surprise that I was acknowledging the truth, maybe, or curiosity about what I'd do next. I walked into the living room. Michael stood up immediately, his face full of confusion and hurt. Richard, Michael's father, looked uncomfortable, like he wanted to be anywhere else. And Marcus. Marcus smiled when he saw me. That same predatory smile I remembered from our last fight, right before he'd grabbed me by the throat and told me I'd never leave him. "Jessica," he said warmly, like we were old friends. "Or should I say Sarah? It's so good to see you again." "Don't call me that," I said, keeping my voice level. I looked at Michael. "Can we talk privately?" "No," Marcus interrupted, standing up. "I think everyone here deserves to know the truth, don't you? After all, you're about to marry into this family under false pretenses." Michael looked between us. "Sarah, please. Just tell me what's going on." I took a deep breath. This was it. The moment where everything either fell apart or somehow, impossibly, I found a way through. "His name is Marcus Delacroix," I began, keeping my eyes on Michael. "And yes, we were engaged 3 years ago in Las Vegas when my name was Jessica Turner." Michael's face went pale. "You were engaged? You told me you'd never." I lied. I cut him off. I lied about a lot of things because I was running from him. Running. Marcus laughed, but there was an edge to it. "Is that what you call stealing $8,000 from me and disappearing in the middle of the night?" Margaret's eyebrows rose. This was even better than she'd hoped. Not only was I a liar, but apparently a thief too. I took that money because I earned it, I said, turning to face Marcus directly for the first time. I earned it every time you hit me. Every time you locked me in our apartment. Every time you monitored my phone and controlled every aspect of my life. That $8,000 was severance pay for a year of being your prisoner. The room went silent. Michael stared at me. He hit you. She's lying, Marcus said smoothly. Jessica has always been dramatic. Our relationship ended badly, yes, but I never laid a hand on her. She left because she got caught stealing from my business. Your business? I laughed bitterly. You mean your drug operation? Or was it the money laundering? I never did figure out exactly what kind of criminal you were, Marcus. There were so many options. His expression darkened. The mask was slipping. Careful, Jessica, he said quietly. You're making accusations you can't prove. Can't I? I pulled out my phone, fingers moving quickly. I kept evidence. Insurance, in case you ever found me. Photos of bruises. Hospital records from the time you broke my rib. Recordings I made of you talking about your business dealings. Text messages where you threatened me. I've kept it all backed up in 3 separate cloud accounts for 3 years. I was bluffing. I had some evidence, but not nearly as much as I was claiming. But Marcus didn't know that. His jaw clenched. If you had that kind of evidence, you would have gone to the police. And tell them what? That I was living with a criminal? They would have investigated both of us. I had fake identification, remember? I couldn't risk exposure any more than you could. I took a step toward him. But things are different now. I have a new life, a legitimate identity that the Bradford family lawyers can protect. If you try to destroy me, Marcus, I'll take you down with me. And unlike you, I have nothing left to lose. Another bluff, but a good one. Margaret was watching this exchange with fascination. I could see her recalculating, trying to figure out how to use this new information to her advantage. Michael looked devastated. Sarah, Jessica, whoever you are, why didn't you tell me? Because I was ashamed, I said, and for once, it wasn't entirely a lie. Because I wanted to be Sarah Mitchell, not Jessica Turner. Because I wanted to leave that life behind and pretend it never happened. By lying to me? To my family? Yes, I admitted. I lied. I'm not proud of it, but I did what I had to do to survive. Marcus cut in, his voice cold now. How touching. But you're missing the bigger picture, Jessica. You think you can threaten me? You think your little evidence matters? I've spent 3 years and over $200,000 tracking you down. I've hired private investigators, paid off people, followed every lead. Do you really think I went to all that trouble just to let you walk away again? The room temperature seemed to drop. What do you want? I asked. He smiled, and it was the smile from my nightmares. I want what's mine. You're going to come back to Vegas with me.
Today. Now.
And we're going to forget this little episode ever happened. Absolutely not, Michael said, finding his voice. He moved to stand between Marcus and me. I don't know what happened between you two, but Sarah's not going anywhere with you. Sarah? Marcus laughed. There is no Sarah. There's only Jessica, and she belongs to me. I belong to no one, I said. Then let me rephrase, Marcus said, pulling out his own phone. You're coming with me, or I'm sending this video to every news outlet in New York, to Michael's business partners, to everyone in your new life. He turned his phone around. On the screen was a video of me, Jessica Turner, in Marcus's apartment. I was helping him count stacks of cash, clearly aware they came from illegal sources. The timestamp showed it was from 2 years into our relationship. My stomach dropped. I'd forgotten about that video. He'd insisted on taking it, said it was insurance in case I ever got ideas about leaving or talking to police. That video makes you an accessory, Marcus continued. At minimum, money laundering. Maybe conspiracy charges too, depending on how ambitious the prosecutor is. You'll go to prison, Jessica. And your new husband and his fancy family won't be able to protect you from that. Margaret's expression shifted. This had gone from entertaining drama to potential scandal that could touch her family. If I was arrested, If this became a media circus, the Bradford name would be attached to it. I looked at Marcus, at the triumph in his eyes. He thought he'd won. Thought he'd backed me into a corner with no way out. But he'd made a mistake. A big one. He'd threatened me in front of witnesses. In front of a wealthy family with resources and lawyers. In front of people who, regardless of whether they liked me or not, wouldn't want their family name dragged through a scandal. And he'd forgotten the most important thing about me. I was a survivor. I'd survived a childhood that should have killed me. I'd survived Marcus the first time. And I'd survive him now. I turned to Margaret, the woman who hated me, who wanted me gone from her son's life. Mrs. Bradford, I said calmly, I know you don't like me. I know you found out about my past yesterday and wanted me to disappear. Well, here's your chance. You can let Marcus take me, let him drag me back to whatever hell he has planned, and I'll be out of Michael's life forever. Margaret said nothing, but I saw her listening. But if you do that, I continued, Marcus is going to talk. He's going to tell everyone about how Michael Bradford was about to marry a con artist, a criminal, a liar. The media will love it. The Bradford family name will be attached to this scandal forever. I saw Richard shift uncomfortably. Margaret's expression hardened. Or, I said, you can help me. You have lawyers, investigators, resources I could never access as Jessica Turner or Sarah Mitchell. You can protect your son, your family, and your reputation by making this problem, I gestured to Marcus, disappear. Why would we help you after everything you've done? Margaret asked coldly. Because right now, our interests align. We both want Marcus gone. We both want to protect Michael from scandal. We both want this wedding to either happen quietly or be called off quietly without turning into a media circus. I looked at her directly. You wanted leverage over me? Well, now you have the best leverage possible. I need you. Help me handle Marcus, and I'll owe you everything. I'll be exactly the daughter-in-law you want. I'll do whatever you say. You'll own me. It was a devil's bargain, and we both knew it. Marcus was getting nervous now. This wasn't how he'd expected this to go. She's manipulating you, he said to the Bradfords. This is what she does. Mr. Delacroix, Richard Bradford spoke for the first time, his voice carrying the authority of a man used to being in charge. I think it's time you left our home. I'm not leaving without her. Yes, you are. Richard pulled out his phone. I'm calling our family attorney right now, and then I'm calling the police. You've just admitted to engaging in illegal activities, you've threatened a young woman in my home, and you've attempted to blackmail someone about to become a member of this family. I'm quite certain our lawyers can find several laws you've broken in the last 15 minutes alone. Marcus looked genuinely shocked. He'd expected the Bradfords to distance themselves from me, not protect me. You can't. I can, Richard said firmly. And I will. You have two options. Leave now voluntarily, or be escorted out by police and face whatever charges our attorneys decide to pursue. Your choice. For a long moment, Marcus just stared. His plan had fallen apart. He'd lost. But as he headed toward the door, he stopped next to me and leaned in close enough that only I could hear. This isn't over, Jessica, he whispered. You can hide behind their money and lawyers for now, but eventually, you'll slip. And when you do, I'll be waiting. You're mine. You'll always be mine. Then he was gone. The room was silent after the door closed. Michael looked at me like he didn't know who I was anymore. Margaret looked at me with cold calculation. Richard looked tired. Sarah, Michael finally said. Or Jessica. I don't even know what to call you. Sarah, I said quietly. Jessica Turner died 3 years ago when I left Marcus. I'm Sarah now. But everything you told me was a lie. Not everything. My feelings for you are real. My desire to build a life with you is real. I took a breath. But yes, my past was a lie. My identity was a lie. I'm not who you thought I was. I need time, Michael said, looking lost. I need to think about all of this. The wedding is tomorrow, and I don't even know if he stopped, shook his head. I need time. He walked out of the room, leaving me alone with his parents. Margaret studied me for a long moment. That was quite a performance, she finally said. turning a threat into an opportunity, making us complicit in protecting you. Very clever. I'm a survivor, I said. I do what I have to do. Yes, you do. She walked closer. You were right about one thing. Our interests do align right now. We need to contain this situation before it becomes a scandal. Richard will have our lawyers deal with Mr. Delacroix. Make sure he understands what will happen if he comes near you or this family again. Thank you. Don't thank me, she cut me off. I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing this for my family's reputation and my son's protection. You said I'd own you if I helped you. I intend to collect on that debt. I know. The wedding will proceed as planned tomorrow, Margaret continued. We'll announce it, hold it, and smile for all the photos. Because calling it off now would raise questions we don't want to answer. But after that, we'll discuss your future in this family and exactly what I expect from you. Understood. She turned to leave, then paused. One more thing. That evidence you claim to have on Marcus, the recordings, the photos, the hospital records. Do they actually exist? I met her eyes. Some of it does. Enough. She smiled just slightly.
Good.
You might actually survive this family after all. After she left, I sat down on the couch, my legs finally giving out. I'd done it. I'd survived Marcus finding me. I'd turned his attack into an opportunity. I'd even gotten the Bradfords to protect me. But at what cost? Michael was questioning everything. Margaret owned me now. My past was exposed. And Marcus was still out there, waiting for me to slip. My phone buzzed. Another text from the unknown number that had messaged me earlier. Impressive performance with Marcus. But you still haven't dealt with me.
Call this number. Now.
Or tomorrow's wedding gets much more interesting. I stared at the message, a chill running down my spine. Marcus wasn't my only ghost from the past. Someone else knew my secrets. Someone else wanted something. And whoever they were, they'd been watching everything.